Now then, because I am better and smarter than all of you pukes, I have determined that the best way to do this series is to divide it up into two sections. And to better explain what those two sections are about, I need to get a little bit into fight or flight. And I know what you're thinking. You know, you got hypersensitive awareness, fight and flight. When are we going to talk about killing zombies? Just relax, you're not ready yet. Now, if you don't know what fight and flight is, it's a natural instinct that animals have when stressed, usually by the sight of a predator. And it's the instinct that, in a split second, makes the animal determine whether they need to fight or leave. Now, I realize that naming these two sections, fight and flight, wouldn't really be right. Because no matter which one you take, you're going to be fighting no matter what. Pretty much, what it boils down to is, in a zombie apocalypse, do you take a sedentary lifestyle, or do you take a nomadic lifestyle? I am in favor of the sedentary lifestyle. Now, that's not to say that I would not take a nomadic lifestyle if a sedentary lifestyle was not available or stopped being possible. So, for the first section, we're going to talk about building a stronghold and standing your ground. Today we're going to talk about resource gathering. Now, in the introduction to this series, I talked about the most important thing to possess in a zombie apocalypse is awareness. Now today, we're going to talk about actual physical things, physical resources needed to survive a zombie apocalypse. Now, a lot of people out there might think that the most important thing to have would be guns and ammunition. But you're making a huge mistake there. The most important thing to possess in a zombie apocalypse, after perfect situational awareness, would be fresh water. Let's not forget that the goal of a zombie apocalypse is to survive. Now, let's take a look at the rule of threes. On average, a human being will survive 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. We're assuming that the air is not toxic in these scenarios, so we don't have to worry about that. After air we got plenty of air, it's free. The next thing we have to worry about is food or water. Now, you're going to survive a lot longer without food than you are without water. Sure, it might suck, but you can go a little while without food. You need water more. Fresh water specifically. In a later video, I'm going to argue that the perfect the perfect size for any startup crew would be 6. And we'll talk about that later, but that's important for this math here. I contend that the appropriate amount of water to have stashed in your stronghold on a weekly basis, this is a weekly par level, is 8 gallons of water per person plus 100. So, if you have a crew of 6 people, 8 times 6 is 48, plus 100 is 148. We'll round that up to 150. 150 gallons of water every week. Now, you might be wondering what the hell that extra bank of water is for. Well, let's say that finding water is a little difficult one week. You have that extra 100 gallons put back for just such an occasion. Also, what makes water even more valuable in a zompocalypse is the fact that money is going to be useless, and free fresh water is going to be a commodity. It's going to become money, which you can trade for other goods and services if you trust other crews and or are desperate. After that, as I've argued, food, you can go a little while without food. It'll suck, but you need it. If you want to get really, really technical about it, I would contend that the appropriate amount of food on a daily basis to have would be 1,500 calories per person. You need just enough to stay alive. After food, the next important thing you're looking for is medical supplies. Bandages, painkillers, disinfectant, things of that nature. Non-zombie wounds are sure to happen in a zompocalypse. They're going to happen. Maybe you get a little carried away and shoot your buddy. Well, thank goodness you've got all those bandages and disinfectant. And then after that, number 4, the fourth most important resource to gather are your weapons. Guns, bullets, and melee weapons. The important thing about having a melee weapon on you at all times. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd rather not get that close to a Zed. But, if I have to, I'm glad I've got a hatchet. The other thing about melee weapons, your hatchets, your swords. I don't know what it is with you sword guys always talking about how cool your swords are, but having a melee weapon is important because you don't have to reload a hatchet. Now, if we're talking guns, I recommend 2 per person. I recommend some kind of rifle and or shotgun and a sidearm. Now, to make things even better, your rifle and your sidearm should use the same caliber rounds. That way you only have to gather 1 kind of ammunition instead of 2. Those are the 4 most important resources to gather for a zompocalypse. In the description of this video, I've included a longer list of other things. Your homework assignment is to arrange them in the order of priority that you think is most appropriate. I look forward to these answers. Until next time, folks, I've been ColonelValor. Stay alive.